You're listening to the Doug Gottlieb Show with guest host Damon Amendolara.
Sign up to be an O Rewards member today. Start earning instantly. O Rewards members earn $5 back for every $150 that you spend. Fast, easy, and free. Only at O'Reilly Auto Parts. See store for details. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Probably the best football weekend of the year. I think the best 8 teams of the NFL are left standing for Saturday and Sunday NFL divisional playoff weekend. And joining us to break it all down is a former NFL defensive back and has played for both the New York Jets and the Atlanta Falcons, as well as the Detroit Lions. Former NFL DB Erik Coleman joining us here in studio on the Doug Gottlieb Show. DA with you guys. Erik, how are you, my man?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for joining us. Hey, we just got the news yesterday that Vontaze Burfict is suspended 3 games for his hit on Antonio Brown. What'd you think, excessive or the right call by the NFL?
I thought it was the right call, right on the money. He's been warned several times. He has a reputation for making these type of plays. And, you look at it, and before the game, he promised his teammate he would keep his composure. And what does he do? He goes out at the end of the game, puts him in a terrible position by doing a cheap shot.
So it's interesting to think about that moment in time. I mean, Vontaze Burfict has got to know that as long as they don't do anything stupid, they've got the best chance to win that game. The Steelers have a broken Ben Roethlisberger trying to get them all the way down the field for a field goal spot. Is that a moment where his emotion just overtakes the sensibility? You got to have the smarts on the field?
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely see how his emotion got the best of him. I mean, and the sad part about it is he had a great game. You look at that sack that he had on Ben Roethlisberger to knock him out of the game. The series before, he had the game, it seemed to be the game-sealing interception, if Hill wouldn't have fumbled. But, you got to keep your composure throughout the game. There's a lot of ebbs and flows in the game, and he let his emotions get the best of him.
Well, as a guy that played safety yourself, I mean, you were obviously involved in a lot of big hits and a lot of collisions at crucial points in time. What was your trick for in a moment to make sure you played physically but also tried to play smart?
Well, I think that you just have to every tackle is different. There's times where receivers, his hands are up, wide open, going across the field. If the ball's there on time, then you have to make him pay for it. And there's certain times where you can pull the trigger and certain times where you have to wrap up. And, I think that later in my career, the rules started tightening up more. So I was fortunate, in the prime of my career, you could pretty much hit anyone wherever you wanted to. So I wasn't accustomed to all the rules of hitting below the shoulders, in that certain strike zone.
How hard was that to adjust in the middle of your career?
It's tough. It was very tough. You go from just knocking guys out, trying to go tackle guys and separate them from the ball, to running up to a guy and thinking. You're thinking instead of just reacting. So that kind of leads to a couple of missed tackles. It leads to not making plays when you should have. And if you're not careful, it can lead to some touchdowns.
Is Vontaze Burfict's reputation in the league as a guy that's emotionally out of control, a dirty player?
Yeah, I think he does have the reputation of being a bit dirty, a guy who can cross the line. But he also has a reputation of being a great football player, and that's the problem that I have. He's such a good ball player. He makes a difference for that defense. He's a leader. Guys look up to him. And when you have veteran guys like Vontaze Burfict, who the coaches are counting on, who the players are counting on to lead them in the right direction, to have him, Pac-Man Jones, come up with plays like that at the end of the game to put them in a position to lose the playoff game, it's sad.
Former NFL safety Erik Coleman, our guest here on the Doug Gottlieb Show on CBS Sports Radio and simulcast on CBS Sports Network on TV. So did you think that the Bengals were a reflection of their head coach, Marvin Lewis, at the end of that game, getting the penalties, the dumb penalties, melting down and putting the Steelers in position to win?
No, I think Marvin Lewis is a great coach. I think that he teaches the right way. He teaches the right tactics to go out there and approach the game. But I also think that he gets players, who can play ball. And he wants you to be free-spirited. He wants you to be yourself out there because that's how you get the best play out of yourself. So, he has a couple of guys who are on that line, and they cross it, when they get emotional. So the Steelers and the Bengals, that rivalry stirs up a lot of emotions that you have to control.
You retired a couple of years ago after 2012, so I don't know how concussion protocol stuff worked back then versus now, but Antonio Brown's trying to go through concussion protocol before he plays in a playoff game. Were you ever in the middle of that before a big game and you wanted to play, but your body wasn't letting you play?
Yes. I had a concussion 1 year playing for the Jets. We had played the Bills. We had a big game coming up, but I was still foggy. I couldn't see straight. I was having headaches, and you have to listen to your body. During that time when your head is foggy, your brain is recovering. And if you take another shot while your brain is recovering, you never gain back
just the clarity that
you never gain back that clarity that you would have had. So it's important for him to listen to his body. He took a big shot. You can see him, completely knocked out. And so he should take his time and make sure that his head is okay.
So the Steelers were acting as though Antonio Brown was faking it, that he had flopped. As a defensive back yourself, when you saw Antonio Brown, did you think he was embellishing that?
No, I didn't. I thought there was a guy who was knocked out. I saw his arms locked up out in front of him, and that means that he's in a seizure. He's having a seizure. So I don't think that he was faking that at all. I think that he was knocked out, and Vontaze Burfict, put his shoulder right into his helmet. And that's a shot that he wasn't expecting, and it was a clean shot.
When you were playing, were there wide receivers that you felt were embellishing the PIs and trying to get the flags and going down when they weren't really that hurt and acting like they were?
Yeah, there were always those dramatic receivers who, when they saw that they couldn't get the ball, they're going to grab your jersey, flail their hands up in the air. But for the most part, guys played the game right. They did the right thing. Before the game, believe it or not, the coaches would give us a scouting report on the referees, telling you which referees, do they have a tendency to call offensive pass interference, defensive pass interference. So you'd kind of watch out for certain situations and try to avoid the pass interference if you could.
Who was the most melodramatic wide receiver? They're like, come on, not again, man. I never even touched you.
I had the chance to play against, Chad Johnson.
Ocho Cinco strikes me as one of those guys.
Yeah, he was very dramatic, very good player, but very dramatic. There are quite a few of them. Marvin Harrison was always a guy who, when you played him, you were always frustrated because when he caught the ball, you wanted to hit him as hard as he could, but he would catch the ball and just fall down on the ground. So that was frustrating as a safety.
Former defensive back Erik Coleman, our guest here in studio. So outside of the Steelers now, we've got a Chiefs team going to Foxborough. And, boy, they looked great on Saturday. But it's a different test when you go up to Foxborough. Single biggest thing, because you played up there as a member of the Jets. Mm-hmm. What's the single biggest thing you got to remember as a team when you go and try to beat the Patriots in their house?
Well, you can't beat yourself. That's the most important thing. With the Patriots, they're so disciplined. You don't see them making mistakes, especially in the big games. One other thing that we used to always emphasize is before the half, keep Tom Brady out of the end zone. You always see that it's a close game in the second quarter going into halftime, and there's always that 2-minute drill where Tom Brady leads his team down, scores a touchdown, then they end up getting the ball to start the third quarter, right. And that's kind of where they separate themselves.
So you can't go beat yourself. So the one thing is, if you have any chance, you got to play a clean game, no turnovers, no bad penalties.
You can't beat yourself. If they're better than you, so be it, but you can't beat yourself out there.
Do you also have to score first or at least be able to keep it close early because trying to come back against them on the road late in the game is probably no man's land?
Yeah, it is no man's land. You want to make sure you get a lead. It's easier said than done, obviously. You try to keep Tom Brady off the board early. Make sure tackles. A lot of the times he gets the ball to those receivers and they catch and run for a lot of yards. You see Julian Edelman do it, Amendola do it a lot. Make sure you play a lot of you mix up the zone and pass. So when they catch the ball, they're going down. Rob Gronkowski isn't running throughout the field knocking guys over. So make sure you tackle. Sure tackle is cold weather. Make sure you tackle well and just do not get the false starts. Do not get all the mental penalties.
Hey, what does it say about the Chiefs that they ripped off 11 straight wins after losing Jamal Charles?
It says it's a credit to Andy Reid. It's a credit to Alex Smith and the rest of those players. They have a lot of playmakers on the Chiefs. Kelsey, Macklin, a lot of guys who have stepped up this year and done a great job. Their defense is lights out. You look at Eric Berry coming back from cancer, having a Pro Bowl year, having an All-Pro year. That's great to see. They have some great pass rushers. So if they get up on you, then you're in trouble.
Former defensive back of the NFL, Erik Coleman, joining us here in studio. We'll come back with more and talk about the NFC side of things in the NFL divisional round of the playoffs coming up here next. DA in for Doug on CBS Sports Radio and the CBS Sports Network.
You're listening to the Doug Gottlieb Show with guest host Damon Amendolara.
Trust the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts to help you choose the brakes that are an exact fit for your vehicle. Brands that you trust like Brake Best Select, and Wagner Thermo-Quiet. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. Former NFL safety for the Jets, the Falcons, and the Lions, Erik Coleman joining us here in studio. Damon Amendolara, DA, in for Doug today. You can usually catch me following Doug on many of these same CBS Sports radio stations. And, of course, we are simulcast on the CBS Sports Network on TV. So we talked about the AFC games. Let's go over to the NFC games. Did you expect Aaron Rodgers to click into that type of rhythm like he did in that game in Washington on Sunday?
I sure hoped he did. You know, during the last part of that season, I'm watching him play. I'm like, where's the Aaron Rodgers that I know? Yeah. When is he going to show up? And he did a great job of showing up last week. You know, they got the run game going, and he took control.
Really felt also like that no huddle that they found, that hurry up, created the tempo and the rhythm that they needed. They kind of found it the second quarter, but once they got it, it seemed like a different team. And I don't know if that's one of those things where you have to become desperate because you're in a playoff game to go into that snap mode early. But didn't it just seem like once they got that, it was almost like the doctor finding the medicine that worked. Like the eyes got wide, like, oh, okay, now we can do this.
Yeah, well, I think quarterbacks love the no huddle because, you know, as a defensive back, before the snap, I spend a lot of the time disguising coverages. You try to lie to the quarterback, and it's a kind of a chess match. And when you go no huddle, the defense tends to show their card a little quicker. So that when you're doing no huddle, they have to get into what position they're in. So if they're playing cover two, the safeties are going to be deep, and he's going to know it. And there's a route to beat every coverage. So when they go no huddle, shows the coverage, he gets to call the play and just get into a rhythm. And it's just like practice pretty much.
So the Packers looked great on Sunday. The question is, they just got tore up by the Cardinals down in Arizona a couple weeks ago. The Cardinals are such a better team than Washington is. Can you figure out how to close the gap and make this tight, considering the Pack went down to Arizona and just got whitewashed a couple weeks ago?
They can. You know, they definitely have the ability to, but I like Arizona in that matchup just because Carson Palmer, Larry Fitzgerald, you know, those guys are playing some great football over there. Their defense is lights out. I know they just lost Matthew, but you know, they are playing some great football over there. But at the same time, let's not forget that the Seahawks just went down to Arizona and took care of business with the Cardinals. So they're coming off a big loss as well. But I think Arizona prevails in this matchup.
I know that they lost Honey Badger, but the Cardinal secondary is also still really, really good. What does the Arizona defense and those defensive backs do that makes them so effective? They really are able to stymie a lot of big plays.
Well, for one, they have Patrick Peterson, arguably the best corner in the game.
Yeah.
You know, he pretty much eliminates a third of the field right there. I like what they do with Dayon Buchanan. You know, he's a safety by trade, but they play him at that linebacker spot, and he's physical enough to play linebacker, but he's athletic enough to cover the tight end. So they match up well with the one-on-one matchups across the board, do a great job in coverage, and they blitz a lot and keeps the pressure. They continue to apply pressure throughout the game.
If Patrick Peterson is the best corner in the game, who's the best safety in the game for your money?
The best safety for my money right now, Matthew was playing great. Earl Thomas does a great job. Yeah. You know, I love how he flies around the field. He controls the defense of the Seahawks. He has so much range. He's physical at the point of attack. He really does a great job. I like how he plays.
Yeah, he's great. And, you know, the corner position is so difficult to play because, as we know, you got to have a short memory. But also now, I mean, you're really not allowed to touch wide receivers or any receivers when they get down the field. And so I kind of wonder, man, the Legion of Boom is kind of betting that you won't throw a PI on every play. So they're gonna get after you and kind of roll the dice and take their chances. In the playoffs, do you get more leash or do you get less leash from the officials when you have physicality?
I think you get more leash in the playoffs. You know, the referees are kind of hesitant to throw those calls, you know, especially if you establish your physicality at the beginning of the game. It's kind of like in basketball. They kind of you start playing, you want to set the tone. See what the referee's going to call, see what you can get away with. And as the game progresses, you get more and more aggressive and kind of almost dare him to throw a flag. And Richard Sherman does a great job of that, being physical receivers down the field, kind of in a way that the referees can't see it. He does it low. You know, he's a veteran. He's very crafty. So I think that they're so physical that they count on the referees not calling all the penalties.
So let's go back, as Erik Coleman joins us in studio, former NFL defensive back here on the Doug Gottlieb Show. Let's go back to that Seahawks and Vikings game. Final drive, Vikings are trying to drive for the game-winning field goal. And I think it's 2nd and 10, maybe 3rd and 10, and it's an incomplete pass on the right side. You have Cam Chancellor running into Kyle Rudolph. And they call the pass interference on Cam Chancellor. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I guess Kyle Rudolph is probably about 10 yards downfield, and they just collide. Mm-hmm. And Chancellor falls down. And they throw the flag on Chancellor. And I'm going, boy, that's a ticky-tack foul to throw right there. Is that one of those things where as a defensive back, you're pulling your hair out because you're like, there was contact on both sides. What am I supposed to do? Yeah,
it's tough. And that's one of the obstacles we always face playing defensive back. And guarding tight ends, we're always taught to collision. Let the tight end collision you, and then you run with them. Because a lot of times you're a lot faster than the tight end, but they're more physical than you. But in that point, you still can't evade his route. You can't cut off his route by making him run through you. So I think that's why Cam Chancellor got called on that play. And that was just two big physical guys colliding.
Very physical guys, yeah. And then, Rudolph got the best of him on the next play when they went downfield, and then obviously they missed the field goal. When you've gone out there and you've sweated and played your guts out and bled and laid it all on the field, and it comes down to a kicker, and the kicker defines your fate. If he misses it, are you like, what the hell? It came down to this? I did all of that and it comes down to this?
Yeah, I mean.
Do you feel robbed?
You kind of do feel robbed, especially in the situation with the Vikings. Everyone has a job on the team. As a safety, my job is to not give up touchdowns, make tackles. Obviously the offensive line has to block. As a kicker, you go in there and knock down field goals. And especially when it's crunch time, the offense, the defense, they did such a great job in the end of that game. The offense ran the ball down the field, put it in perfect position for the kicker, and he missed that field goal. It's very unfortunate. We had that problem. We had that situation my rookie year. We played the Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Doug Bryan was the kicker. At the end of regulation, we had the opportunity to win the game. He missed a field goal. We went into overtime, had another opportunity, missed another field goal. And that was a tough one to swallow. Even though it was my rookie year, it's something that I still think about. When I think about playoff football, I think about what could have been if we would have made that field goal.
Is that the worst loss of your career?
Yes, I would say that was the worst loss because, we had beat San Diego, had a lot of momentum, and then we lost to Pittsburgh. They went on to win the Super Bowl that year. So,
that's right.
Of course, you're thinking, man, we would have beat Pittsburgh. We would have won in the Super Bowl. But, you never know what's going to happen.
Do you think this Seattle team has a chance to go to Carolina to pull the upset?
I do. I think that they do have the opportunity. They're both very good football teams. I love the way their defenses play. They're very aggressive. They both have a great corner, Richard Sherman and Josh Norman. They both have speedy linebackers. They match up very well. Both have mobile quarterbacks. I do think that Cam Newton is playing above and beyond any other quarterback in the NFL right now. He does a great job of throwing the football, running the football. He's so big and strong that, he's like another running back there. So, and he and Greg Olsen have something special going on right now as well.
So Cam Newton's always been a physical freak of nature, bigger, stronger, faster than most quarterbacks out there. But this year he seemed to really put it together. What have you seen that has made Cam Newton different this year, pushed him to the next level?
Well, I think he decided that he's going to punish the defender. Before it was like, I'm big and strong, I'm going to get away from you. Now you see him lowering his shoulder and putting it in the chest of linebackers, running guys over. He's kind of – it seems like he's kind of realized I'm a lot bigger and a lot stronger than a lot of these guys, and I'm going to use it to my advantage. And they just have this attitude. Their whole team plays with this swagger, and it's great to see. And when a team has confidence like that, there's no telling what they'll do.
I guess also there comes a point in your career where things just click, right? At some point along the line, from rookie year to second year, third year, fourth year, slows down, you just get it, and I feel like that might be where Cam is too, that he's combining the physical stuff with the mental stuff. In your career, did you get to a point where like, okay, now I feel comfortable, now I know my job and what my responsibilities are and how to do it, now I get it?
Yeah, absolutely. As a rookie, you go into the game, you're trying to remember your plays, you're trying to remember all the adjustments that you have to make, and you can't really focus on how the offense is attacking you. Now, when you sit back and you watch the season, you watch the film, the mistakes that you made, the great plays that you made, and you start to get an understanding, how are teams attacking me? that's when you really get it. And I think that happened to me, going into my second year, going into my third year in the league. The game really slowed down for me, and I started to understand, route concepts, how, third down, what are they doing? I know that they're trying to just throw a blanket in front of you to disguise what they're doing, but at the end of the day, everybody runs the same thing. When I realized that, I started playing better football.
Did you have relationships as you became a veteran in the league with referees? Did you know certain refs and talk to them beforehand and try to figure out, pick their brain, hey, what are they looking for? Or just, honestly, try to be nice to them so that they didn't call fouls on you?
Yeah, I mean, as a defensive back, you'd be stupid not to.
Yeah.
I'd always try to, go up to a referee before the game to wish him good luck, establish a relationship with them, ask him questions during the game. If a guy gets called for a holding on defense, what did he do wrong right there? Why did you call that? And that shows that you care. That referee wants to know that you care and that you respect the game and you respect the rules. So, we both have a job to do. Why not make it easier on both of us?
Have you seen the movie Concussion?
Yes, I have.
What'd you think?
It was it was a tough movie to watch, especially for myself, dealing with a lot of those doctors. I had a situation with Dr. Pellman myself, with an appendix when I was younger. My third year in the league, I had an issue going on. And just watching the way that the league put that guy in charge of the concussion when he had no experience with neurology, it was frustrating. It was frustrating to watch. It was hard to watch. And it was sad watching, my brothers go through all that pain after they're done playing, and you kind of just hope and pray that you're not the one that's next.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Former defensive back of the New York Jets, the Falcons, the Lions, Erik Coleman is our guest here in studio. Before we wrap up the show, we'd like to do something called 5 questions. You ready for this?
Okay.
Cue the music here, boys. All right, we play the 5 questions music, and here we go. True or false questions. So these are easy, relatively. Number 1, you played at Washington State, your college ball.
Yes, sir.
True or false? We know it gets cold up there. True or false? You once wore 2 pairs of long underwear under your game pants during a game.
False.
No, that's incorrect. We believe that's true. 1 long johns, 1 long underwear?
I definitely wore one.
Tough to move around with long underwear?
It just restricts you too much when you have too many layers underneath.
Spandex and long underwear, or just spandex under there?
Probably just spandex and a whole lot of Vaseline.
Number 2, you played for Herm Edwards with the Jets, of course. True or false? At least once you yelled at him, "You play to win the game."
That's false.
No, that's just got to be true.
I had a lot of respect for Herm. We messed around with him a lot.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys would do that when I never did it.
You never did it?
I never went there. I never took it there.
I covered Herm in Kansas City. I couldn't help but say Herm sayings all the time.
Man, Herm has some great sayings. He's a great guy to play for. One of my favorite coaches to play for.
You played for Eric Mangini as well. Mm-hmm. So true or false, you DVR'd the Sopranos episode with him in it.
True.
Yes, that's the correct answer.
I definitely did. And we gave him a bunch of crap after we saw him in meetings after that. We had a good time with him on that one.
When they were all calling him Mangenius?
Oh, yeah.
There goes Mangenius over there. All right, number 4, you played for the Falcons as well, so true or false, there ain't no party like a Buckhead party because a Buckhead party don't stop.
Very true.
That's true. Yes, that's the correct answer.
They know how to party down in Buckhead. There's some good. I had some great times down there with my teammates.
Probably some of the longest nights. You played in New York and Atlanta, so I'm sure you had a couple of late nights in both those places.
Yeah, but fortunately for me, I got most of my partying out early.
Okay.
In the off seasons, I would do my partying, and by the time I got to Atlanta, I got married. And then I had a baby.
There you go.
So I kind of slowed down a little bit, but I did get out a few times.
That's the smart way to elongate your career, right?
Exactly.
Get married, have a baby that way.
Yes,
all that.
Get some responsibility so you stay in the house.
That's right. And finally, number 5, you're a Sacramento guy, right?
Yes, originally from Sacramento.
So, true or false, the Kings got robbed by the NBA in that Western Conference Finals loss to the Lakers.
Oh, my goodness. I'm still hurting about that one.
That's true, yes.
That's true.
That's right.
That's true. I remember in college.
Still tough to watch.
Yeah, my roommate in college, Hamza Abdullah, he played 7 years in the NFL. He's from Pomona, California. He's a huge Laker fan. And we were going back and forth. And when we got robbed and Robert Horry hit that shot, it just crushed me.
Crushing, man. You still watching an NBA Classic and read the box score, you're like, how did that happen?
Yeah, every time you watch the replay, you hope he misses on
it. Right. That's still not a foul. That's never been a foul. Erik Coleman, former defensive back of the NFL, joining us here in studio. Erik, great stuff, man. Thanks so much for joining us.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
This was a lot of fun. We'll have to do it again. DA filling in for Doug here. So I'm off tonight. My normal show I'm off, but I'm back in my normal slot tomorrow, so I will see you then. Once again, we've got all of the NFL coverage coming up throughout the week here on CBS Sports Radio, so keep it locked right here with 4 NFL divisional round games coming up. You know, top to bottom here on the network. We're going to be all over it, and, of course, on the TV side of things as well. Thanks to all the TV people that make this great simulcast work on CBS Sports Network. Thanks to Adam Klug, executive producer, Tom DiCelestino on the Wheels of Steel, and Jay Berman on your headline today. Enjoy the rest of CBS Sports Radio, everybody, and the CBS Sports Network. I'm DA, and we will see you tomorrow.